The new CPD requirements under the new Act have confused some people, and the presentation we're going to be doing in this instance is going to hopefully clarify some of those aspects for you. The first key thing to understand about the new regime is that it's no longer couched in terms of points. It's now expressed in terms of hours. So we don't have 12 CPD points anymore, as we did for many decades in the past. We have X number of hours depending on whether you're Class 2, Class 1 or Assistant Agent. So we're going to be talking about the different requirements for the different levels of authority, Class 1 and Class 2 Assistant Agent. But let's start with the concept of the fact that we no longer have a renewal anniversary date for your licenses or registrations. It's done on a CPD year, one year. So it's a constant year. It runs from the 23rd of March of a particular year to the 22nd of March of the next year. So you will have to have done your required CPD hours or units if you're an assistant agent within that specific time frame. Now, more recently, the Office of Fair Trading has introduced some clarification around this process, and you'll notice I've marked up the year in quarters because the Office of Fair Trading have only recently said that if you've received your license or your registration within the last 3 months prior to the end of the CPD year, you do not need to do CPD points because it's too close to the end of the CPD year. And if you've received your certificate of registration expressly, your certificate of registration between 9 and 3 months before the end of the CPD year, then you only have to do 1 unit of your CPD requirements for COR, Certificate of Registration. So let's just recap. You must do your CPD requirements within the CPD year. Those requirements, depending on whether you're Class 1 or Class 2 or Assistant Agent, will be 9 hours, 6 hours, or 3 units of your required Cert 4. If you are new to if you've just received your license or your certificate of registration, then and it's within 3 months of the end of the CPD year, no CPD requirements for you for that particular CPD year. If you have received your certificate of registration specifically, not a license, between 3 and 9 months prior to the end of the CPD year, you only have to do 1 of the normal 3 units of CPD if that is the criteria that matches your situation. So key points are it's hours, not points anymore, hours, and it's 9 hours for Class 1, 6 hours for Class 2, and 3 units of the relevant certificate 4 as a minimum progression. So that's what they call incremental study. So if you're on assistant agent authority, then the minimum progression, the minimum amount of CPD that you're required to do, you can do more if you want to, is 3 of the units of your certificate of your Cert 4, depending on whether you're doing licensing for real estate, for stock and station, or for strata managing. Now, this is a broad discussion point about 9 hours, 6 hours, and 3 units, because in the first CPD year, meaning from the 23rd of the 3rd, 2020 to the 22nd of the 3rd, 2021, for that very first CPD year, the 9-hour requirements for Class 1 have been reduced to 6. For Class 2, it remains at 6, and there's no change for assistant agent. Now, the reason why there's been a change in the very first CPD year for Class 1 is because it relates to the business units. So of these hours that we're talking about here, there's 3 elective hours, 3 compulsory hours, and 3 business units hours that make up the 9 hours. And if you're Class 2, it's going to be 3 elective units, 3 compulsory units. Now, for the very first year of the CPD new regime, meaning this year, there is going to be no requirement for business units, which means that for this particular CPD year, year 1, as it were, if you're a Class 1 agent, you do 3 hours elective, 3 hours compulsory, which is the same as what Class 2 agents have to do, 3 elective, 3 compulsory. No change to the requirements for assistant agents. Now, in respect of those elective units and those compulsory units, the elective units can be offered by any training institution, broadly speaking, whereas the compulsory units must be offered by a government body, an association, or an approved provider. So be very careful where you're getting your compulsory units from, because if they are not issued by either an authorised government body, an association relevant to the industry, and or a body, a training organisation, an RTO that's been specifically authorised, then you may find that your CPD points are not going to be valid. So be very careful. And also bear in mind that you need to keep your records for the minimum period of time. It's your obligation as an agent to keep your CPD evidence, and if the OFT were to call on you or to audit you or to in any way ask you to produce evidence, it's up to you to have kept the evidence. In the case of the assistant agent CPD units, then obviously that's going to be evidence of the completion of the minimum requirements, being 3 units per year of your certificate 4. Now, quite frankly, most assistant agents that I'm aware of will do their full Cert 4 very soon after getting their initial agency assistant agent registration, but that's my experience. But if you want to progress at the minimum rate, remember it's 3 units per year for the relevant certificate 4 for you, whether it's real estate, stock and station, or strata managing. My name is Craig Swan. I would always appreciate your comments and feedback. If you have any, you can reach me through Instagram at Craig_Leverage Group, through email Craig Swan, SWAN1N, at leveragegroup.com.au. Just keep in mind that we are going to do a series of presentations on the CPD regime that's come into force on the 23rd of the 3rd this year. This is only one. There will be others that follow, and we'll drill a bit more deeply into the topics. Today's topic was generally an overall or a summary. If you want particular detail, then have a look at the subsequent presentations we'll be doing. Take care of yourself. Happy hunting. See you next time.